you can become a good communicator only if you practice. So that, I think, that is the most important thing.
Hi guys, welcome back to the podcast. So for this podcast, we are going to talk about the importance of communication skills. Communication skills are very important irrespective of your background, whether you are into job or into education sector. But there are certain ways you can improve your communication skills. So in this regard, I've invited my friend Aviral Patle, who is a leadership and communication coach and also trains people in corporate sector. He's also a professional speaker. So he knows all the important bits that you need to understand in order to improve your communication skills. So let's begin with the video. Hi, Aviral. Welcome to the podcast. Thanks for doing this, man.
Hey, Deepak, thank you very much. So glad to be here. And of course, very glad to see you after a long time.
Yeah, glad to see you as well, man. Yeah, so I would like to begin with a very basic question. So like, what do you think is the importance of communication skills in our life or in our jobs or in general, you can say?
All right. So I think communication is the most important skill that one should learn.
Mhm.
If you look at any profession, be it a manager, any position, any profession, if you are a politician, or let's say you are a leader, you're a business leader, you're a global leader, or
Yeah.
even if you are an employee, if you have you're an entrepreneur,
Yeah,
everything depends on communication. Everything depends on how you communicate, how you
yeah,
pitch yourself, how you pitch your ideas to others. And I personally believe that the world works because of communication skills of these people. Things get done because of communication. So this is how important communication is. I would say it is the most important skill to learn.
yeah, okay, yeah, good points. So when you say communication skill, what do you actually mean? Like, do you mean the language we should have like command on the language, or we should be able to express our feeling irrespective of the language that we are using? What do you think is the communication skills?
So Deepak, I think it's a very good question. People often get confused with communication skills. If you ask anyone in India, and they'll say, okay, if you can speak good English, then you have a good communication skills. But I don't think that it is about language. You can communicate in many ways. They can be non-verbal communication, they can be verbal communications. People speak through gestures and their expressions.
Exactly.
Now, even if we talk about the best of the Bollywood actors that we have at this point in this era, they are very good with their facial expressions. If I want to remind you of one great Bollywood actor who is very famous these days, Pankaj Tripathi, or Kaleen Bhaiya from Mirzapur. Now, every meme that you see around him is based on his facial expression. So he communicates with his face. Now, it's not just about the language. It is how you convey your message to the audience. That is what matters to me as a communicator. And as far as language is concerned, I think it all depends on what kind of audience do you have. If I'm speaking in an Indian village where the level of education is very low, people do not have basic necessities, or they do not have basic schooling facilities, and if I go there and if I start talking in English or some other foreign language, that doesn't make sense, right? So that's why it's important to understand what kind of audience do you have and what is the language they understand. So a good communicator always speaks in the language of the masses, I would say.
That's right. That's a good point. Yeah. One thing which I remember from somewhere, reading someone's quote. He's a very big professor in clinical psychology. He says that if you can communicate yourself, especially in writing, you are the most dangerous person in this world.
Yes, absolutely. I think that is a very good point, because ultimately, even though we are living in this era where everything is now getting online and we have got more visibility, still I believe it is the writing the things you write which will live on for generations, and it has been living on for generations.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, as you yourself are training people on communication skills, I wanted to understand what's the problem with people, especially adults, in terms of communication. Do they hesitate in improving their communication skills, or like do they just think, oh, we do not speak good English, so that's the problem?
See, there are a lot of problems, and we cannot pinpoint to one problem that, okay, it is about the language, they do not understand the English language, or they don't know grammar. So see, the first issue which comes, which becomes a hindrance in becoming a good communicator is confidence. What I've seen is people struggle because they are not confident when they talk to people.
Okay.
I mean, they hesitate. They do not want to put themselves in a situation where they have to talk to,
lot of people
in authority or any other, they just do not want to talk to other people. If they, to strangers.
Yeah.
So confidence is one of the issues which I think is the big hindrance. Then I've seen people who are very conscious. They're conscious how they're looking, how they look.
Yeah.
They're conscious about, okay, whether if I'm saying something, will it make sense or not? Or is the audience going to laugh at me? These are very basic things which people are afraid of.
Yeah.
So these are the issues that I think the main issue that I've seen.
Yeah, I think I agree with your points, and especially the one where you say like people are afraid of expressing themselves, thinking that people will make fun of them. So I think
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you talked about the confidence and the other points. What do you think we should do to improve our communication skills?
I think the first answer that comes to my mind is to communicate. So
to practice.
But yes, to practice. The answer is to practice. Nothing, you cannot become a good communicator just by reading books or just by reading quotes or just by watching videos on communication. You can become a good communicator only if you practice. So that, I think that is the most important thing.
Yeah.
A person, if you want, like people who are watching this podcast, if you want to improve your communication skills, then meet new people, talk to people, and communicate with them. And talk to new people. Do not talk to your regular friends or your family members. Rather, join some groups.
Exactly.
So there are a lot of such groups which are working, which are there for networking. And practice, talk to people, put yourself in challenging situations. I think the only way you will learn is by putting yourself in challenging situations.
Exactly.
So that is what I did to improve my communication skills. I've been talking to strangers for more than a lot of years. I've stopped counting now. So that is very important, that we practice with new people and we learn. So what I used to do was I used to make notes.
Okay.
Every time I'll go, earlier I was not able to talk to people, particularly in English or even in Hindi, because I did not know how to frame a sentence in English. So what I would do is I would think in my mind, okay, now this is what I have to say and how better can I say this thing. So, and one thing which I have seen in people who want to learn communication is that they do not focus on the grammar part. Okay. Because if you want to be a good communicator, if you want to be an impeccable speaker, you must also have a good command on your grammar in whatever language you're speaking. I'm not saying that if you're learning French, then you should learn the French grammar. You cannot do justice to the language without actually having a command over the grammar or speaking it properly, right? That is very important, I think.
I mean, you talked about the grammar part. So, there might be some people like, because, these days English is playing a very, very, big role in India when it comes to communication, because most of the communication is in English. So there might be some people, those who do not come from a very good educational background. When I say very good educational background, I mean, like they must have done their studies in regional or like local languages. So what do you think? Because then people will have more hesitation in speaking because, they are not that comfortable. I've seen very good people struggling with English and they had to change their, career path just because they couldn't speak good English. And also they were hesitant in trying to speak it. What do you think people of those backgrounds should do to improve the communication skill?
So Deepak, I think, I'll first ask you a counter question. Let's say you were to live in Germany. Okay. You had to go to Germany. Now you have to learn the German language because that is mandatory. You cannot live in Germany without actually learning the language. You will not get the visa, right?
You will. I mean, even if you get the visa, you will not survive.
You will not survive.
You will not make good friends. Yeah.
Absolutely. So in that case, will you say, okay, I did not speak in a German language school, so how will I learn German?
Yeah.
Will that be an excuse? that's not going to be an excuse.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, it's all about the practice that you do.
It is not going to work. So I'll just give you a little background of myself. I come from a place called Birsa, which is in Balaghat district of Madhya Pradesh. Okay, it's one of the most backward areas in Madhya Pradesh, and as you know, Madhya Pradesh is itself a backward state of India, right? So I come from one of the most backward places in the country. Okay. And there, although there was a PSU and I got to study in a public sector school. I mean, it was a CBSE school. So I had good education right from the beginning, but the people I lived with, my friends, everyone around me they used to study in a Hindi medium school, and I did not have exposure to English language as a language of communication until I joined my college. Okay. Yeah. Although I studied in an English medium school, but I did not know how to speak a single language in English because that was not a trend in our school. Everyone was very comfortable speaking in Hindi. All the courses were in English, so we knew the language. I would not say that I did not know the language at all. Now, what I did was, first of all, I made this resolution that, okay, I have to learn this language. I have to start speaking in English, and I have to. So I would teach myself. I would not go to anyone. I'd not go to any coaching or any other spoken English classes as it is a trend. I would watch web series, English web series, good web series, and I'll not watch it entirely, like the entire episode in one go. Rather, I will keep a dictionary in my hand. I had a very small Oxford English dictionary, very handy one, the pocket dictionary. And I'll always keep it in my bag. And I would watch this web series. I'll pause. I will write down the sentences which they were speaking, the manner, the correct grammar. And the web series that I watched was The Big Bang Theory. And there is one character, Sheldon, who is very particular about the grammar. So... so I think it's very important that you watch good web series, which actually educate you in the language as well. So I will improve my vocabulary, I will learn new words, and I will write down, I maintain a diary, okay, these are the words that I learned. And I did this for many years, like throughout my college. And by the time I left my college, I was able to communicate in English. Because I had to go for a lot of interviews, job interviews. So every time I opted, the language was always English. And I think I was very comfortable after 4 years in college, because see, ultimately, again, it's all about whether you want to learn or not. Because I have seen people,
exactly.
And believe you me that I've seen people who will communicate in English, they will make grammatical errors. And I've seen these people, the same people for years, and they will not want to improve upon what they are saying. Exactly. So it's all up to you whether you want to learn the language, whether you want to learn grammar, or whether you want to communicate well with people or not.
Yeah. And also, like, initially you will make a lot of mistakes. So you shouldn't be afraid of making mistakes. That's one of the points that I can mention. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is one of the most that is what happens, because see, I'll give you one like when I joined my company, where I'm currently working as a senior engineer. When I joined BHL, it was induction, and we had an induction training in Hyderabad, BHL Hyderabad plant. Okay, and I will every time a trainer would come, I will talk to them in English. I'll speak in English, and I will make a lot of mistakes, and a lot of times I was not able to convey my message properly, and my friends will tease me, okay, you can speak in Hindi now. So these are things which happen. But again, see, they were just teasing, and I did not stop at that time. I actually continued speaking the same language. I said, okay, no problem, I'll master it one day.
yeah, because you wanted to learn. And also, like, basically, like, if you want to do things in English, and if it works in English, then you should do in English. And if you think like Hindi will work there, then Hindi is okay, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. See, again, as I said, it is all about learning the language and speaking the proper language, and it's all about your audience. So because it was in Hyderabad, a lot of my friends, colleagues were from South, and I had to speak in a language which they also understood. So many of them did not know Hindi at that time.
Yeah, that's right.
It was not an option.
And your environment, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. You already mentioned a few points. Do you have some other tricks apart from like watching movies, which people can use and improve their at least their like communication skills when it comes to writing or speaking?
Yeah. So see, I think the best tip, see, that was one of the tricks that I use, or that was one of the tips that I will give for improving language. Apart from that, I think it's very good, important that you read good novels, good books, self-help groups,
Yeah.
books. And it's also a very good habit to write blogs, I would say.
Okay.
Like if you're on LinkedIn or any there, see, LinkedIn is a very good platform right now. So you can go to LinkedIn, you can write posts, and every time you do something, see, you cannot learn anything without a mentor, first of all.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you find a mentor. There are a lot of people out there who are ready to help you,
Okay.
who can be your coach. See, I'm not saying that, okay, just go and pay someone. Talk to your friends.
Yeah.
Make a peer group. Because if you want to learn something alone, it's going to take a lot of time. But if you have a peer group, if you have people who have the same interest, you can help each other. You talk to each other in this language, in whatever form of communication that you want to convey, and you record yourself, speak in front of a camera. One of the most effective ways of improving communication is to record oneself. If you record yourself and then you see it, and then you show it to your friends, and then ask for their feedback. Now, feedbacks are very important. If you want to really learn, then you should do all these things, and I think it is going to help. So there are a lot of things which people can do, be it verbal, non-verbal.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned about the readings, reading part. I think reading is very important because when you have thoughts in your mind, then basically you will be able to speak, right? So when you read, you get a lot of thoughts, and when you have thought, you will be able to speak. So sometimes some people have this struggle that they are not able to have any thoughts. They kind of become like blank when they speak to someone. So I think reading can make you more aware about things and can give you some thoughts, and then your communication skills will automatically improve.
Absolutely. So I think it's very important. It is very important to read, and to read good things, good stuff, like books. See, every time I have to read a book, I'll always go to Google and I'll see its ratings on Goodreads and Amazon. And that's only, and if it is recommended to me by a friend, then I'll read that book. Because it's also important that we do not read all the books, because all the books out there are not going to help you.
Exactly.
But there are a lot of books, like there is one very good book on communication, which is Talk Like Ted. It's by an author, Carmine Gall. So it's a very good, a good book in communication. It talks about storytelling and the gestures that we can use, the stage presence and everything. Like it's about public speaking, but it will help you be a better communicator as well.
Okay.
So because these are the books which teach you a lot of things. They'll give you tips and tricks, and they make you aware of what works in communication and what does not work. And as you mentioned, they give you ideas as well.
Yeah. Okay. So because my background is into like higher education, so I wanted to ask you, how important do you think communication skills are? Because one of the things which I faced when I started with my higher education was I was struggling in writing the proposals. And here, if you talk about the higher education, writing proposals, papers, publications, like it's very important for you. So what do you think? Because also, like, if you want to go to an industry or like a corporate sector after your higher education, it's important for us to improve our communication skills during our higher education. So what do you think are the problems with higher education and communication skills, and also what can we do to improve the communication skills during our higher education?
So see, if it comes to higher education, I think communication skills become even more important. Because when you are in your early stage, it all depends on what answers you write. Right? If you have a good handwriting, then you'll get better marks. But when it comes to higher education, when you go up the ladder, it is more about your analytical skills, how you analyze the question, how you perceive the question, how you perceive a problem, and what is your solution. So these are things which becomes more important. Your interviews, your what I can say, the oral examination, it takes the front seat when it comes to higher education. So it is indeed very important. And one of, like you said, writing proposals, right? So writing proposals is not something which you can learn in a week or a month.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of efforts. You have to first practice writing.
Okay.
I'm not just talking about writing proposals. Write anything. Write a story. Write about your day. Make it a habit that, okay, I'm going to write this today. I'm going to write 500 words today. And every time you write, you'll become better. But one important thing is, if you write, do not just keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
Post it somewhere. Post it on LinkedIn. Write something and post it on LinkedIn and let people comment on it. Let people comment.
Yeah.
Let people share your story. Let people give you feedback. There are people who will like it. There are people who will not like it. But
Yeah.
at least you will know, okay, these are things which work and these are the things which do not work. And you have to do it for yourself. No, it's not going to happen by just seeking feedback or just asking for tips from some other people. You have to go out there, write, get feedback from people, and work upon those feedbacks. So it's important to actually work upon those feedbacks.
Yeah, yeah. And also, like, when you post somewhere, it will take away your fear of, like, fear of thinking people will think bad about me if I'll just make a mistake. And another thing you already mentioned about the feedback. So when you get the feedback, you will be able to improve. Yeah.
Yes. So I think, as you said, the fear of judgment is something which keeps us from doing things. And once we lose that fear, it's an easy road out there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was wondering, like, whether do you think whether we should have a course structure during our education, throughout our education, whether we should have a course structure which can help us improve our communication skills, for example, because communication skills is not only about writing or like speaking. You also need to have some understanding of, like, although it's a part of, like, your speaking, you need to have good understanding of presenting yourself during the meetings, like for making the presentation. Do you think we should have a course structure?
Yes, I think, see, communication skills or public speaking in general should be made a part of the curriculum.
Yeah.
That is what I believe, because these are the most important skills, one of the most important skills of the 21st century. Because when a lot of jobs and everything will be eaten up by machines, communication is still something which is in our hand, which will always require a human touch, or which will always require emotions. Okay. So I think what I personally believe, which I lacked in my education, was the art of storytelling. We never learned how to tell stories. And this is one very important thing. Whenever we are communicating, and if we are a good storyteller, then we can achieve a lot of things.
Yeah.
So yes, it should be added in curriculum. It should be made mandatory for students to get on stage and speak, because see, every school has an assembly. We do not have to make any infrastructural changes. Exactly. If you talk about school education, we have assemblies, we have different houses. But what we see in schools is, what I have seen in my school or other schools, is that the same people, the same kids who will come on stage every few weeks, and they will give, and the other kids, they'll just
shy away from standing there.
Because it is not mandatory for them. I don't know, there might be some schools which are following this.
I mean, I think most of the cases are the same. People like me used to shy away from going to stage and speaking things, because, like, as I said, like, I was afraid of people judging me that I made a mistake. This happened once, and after that, I never went on the stage. So yeah, I think it should be made mandatory, so that, like, people will lose the fear of, like, speaking or, like, communicating, I guess.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so I think this is my last question to you. I wanted to understand from your side, how can communication skill enhance one's personality and also improve the chances of getting a job?
Well, so I think about this is a gist of whatever we have talked till now.
Yeah.
Because the way you communicate, the way you carry yourself, it's not just about how you're speaking, the way you are carrying yourself, the way you are dressed up. It is all a part of communication. You're communicating something through your dress. If today I would have come in let's say a sleeveless t-shirt or something, I would be communicating that, okay, I'm not taking this podcast seriously. Like,
okay, yeah,
or if I had been sitting in some place where it was a lot of noise, or I was talking to you sitting in my car or somewhere else. So
yeah,
what does it communicate? It communicates that, okay, this person is not serious about
yeah,
this podcast or this interview. Now, whatever we do, we are communicating something. The way
yeah,
I am speaking.
yeah,
And if you are a good communicator, if you want to become a good communicator, it cannot happen just by the words that come out of your mouth, out of your mouth.
yeah,
Everything has to be perfect. Everything has to improve.
exactly.
No, not perfect. I'm not asking to see perfection,
Yeah,
but you have to show your efforts. So if one has to become a good communicator,
yeah,
I think it's very important that you improve your personality overall. And if you improve your personality, then I think you can get anything done.
yeah,
It all comes down to your presence, your demeanor. When
yeah,
you
yeah,
enter a room, are you able to inspire or not?
yeah,
Do people look at you seriously, or uh, they look at you just like some other person who has just walked into the room? So it's
yeah,
very important. And with communication comes command presence,
yeah,
which is one of the most important things. Like the great leaders out there, when they enter the room, they command the room. They
exactly.
know how to stand, they know how to sit on a chair properly,
Yeah, yeah,
they know how to shake hands. These are all ways of communicating.
yeah,
They
yeah,
know how to move their hands, where should they keep their hands, what are gestures. So these are the things, how should they keep their facial, what should be their facial expression when they are talking. All these things contribute to your communication, and every single thing is important.
yeah, yeah. You're right. One of the things which I feel is like people, those who are good in communication skills, basically they are, I mean, I'm not generalizing it, but they are more knowledgeable than people, those who are not, very good in communication skills. Because the reason why I say is because, people, those who communicate well, they read a lot. And when you read a lot, you have knowledge, right? You have thoughts and all the things. So this anyhow makes your life easier when it comes to seeking finding
So
a job or getting a job. But I might be wrong in saying that
this is
people good with communication skills are like very knowledgeable. Yeah.
no. So see, this is one point where I'll disagree with you, Deepak.
Okay.
Because because see, it is all about perception.
Okay.
People who can communicate well give
Okay.
this perception that I am knowledgeable.
Okay.
This is why communication skills are important. This is why you must learn how to communicate, because there are a lot of people out there who have great ideas,
Okay.
who know a lot more than your average individual, who
Okay.
are masters of their field. But when it comes to communication, when it comes to talking to people directly,
Yeah.
they lack that skill. They are not confident. They are very nervous. They get nervous when they speak, they stand in front of people and they have to communicate.
Yeah.
So this is why communication is important. This is why people who can communicate well are leaders. If
Yeah.
you, I don't want to get political here, but if you see the best politicians out there, the people who are winning elections one after another,
Yeah.
are the people who can communicate well, who can communicate to the masses, who can touch their hearts.
Yeah.
They might not be very knowledgeable, or they might not be very educated as well. They
Yeah.
might not have a college degree, yet they are able to show their audience that, okay, I know this, I know better than anyone in this room, just because of their communication skills. So more often than not, people who can communicate well have lesser knowledge than people
Yeah.
who
Thank God I asked that question, because there might be many people like me who are wrong, right? Who are wrong in their thinking that good communicators are always knowledgeable people.
so that's why it is very important to understand, to learn communication skills.
Yeah.
And it gives a perception to people that, okay, you are very knowledgeable.
Mhm.
If
Yeah.
it was not for my communication skills, if I was not making those videos and posting it on social media, you might not have invited me for
Exactly.
this podcast.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay. Do you have any other advice for people uh, apart from what we already spoke?
Other advice is, again, I think I will I would like to reiterate my point where I asked them to network, to
Mhm.
meet new people.
Okay.
And ultimately, when you meet new people, when you talk to them, you learn their ways as well. If you have noticed, like I have lived in several places, and I've noticed one thing, that wherever I live for more than a year, I try to catch that accent. If I live in Rajasthan and I come home, I talk to people, they'll think that okay, they will get it from my accent that okay, this person has lived somewhere else, or that will come in my habit. Okay. That's why it is very important to get to know a lot of people, to people who are doing good work. People who are, so there are a lot of like social circles out there. There's Toastmasters, there's Rotary Club, several other clubs. There's BNI, and other groups where you can meet people, where you can network with people, and you can learn how to communicate with these people. So my most important tip is to talk to people. Unless you talk to people and make note of what you're doing, whom you talk to, it's very important that you check your progress. You yourself check your progress and not let others do that for you. It's more important.
Okay, so those are very good points, Aviral, and thanks for doing this, man.
Thank you so much, Deepak. I think I'm very glad, and I thank you again for inviting me to this podcast, and I can't wait it to be out there.
Yeah, thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys, for watching the entire episode. Now, if you have any questions, or if you want me to make a podcast or invite someone for any particular question, you can leave your questions in the comment sections. And also, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel so that you can get all the information. And also, please don't forget to press the bell icon.